Hey guys, welcome back. Maverick here, ready for another episode of Steinsgate 0. I actually think it's been quite a while since I've recorded the last episode. It feels like it's been quite a while, and if that was the case, my apologies to you guys. Things have been a little bit hectic here, what with the ending of the month and all that. And while I was trying to remember what happened last episode, I eventually got back on track, right? So we basically have this, I guess, quite tearful reunion between Kagari and Mayuri, although many years apart, and that was pretty much it, right? I mean, there's still a lot of mystery surrounding Kagari, don't get me wrong, but I feel like one of the things I'm missing is some sort of clue or inclination as to how the series is actually going to progress, right? So, as you guys know by now, I like to focus my review sessions more on, theory crafting and predicting what kind of development is going to happen next, and I feel like I can't really do that with Steins Gate 0. Not really sure if it's just a me problem, whether I'm missing something, or the way that they structure it. I wonder if it's, sort of like the pacing issues that some of you guys have been talking about. But in any case, we are ready for episode 13 right here. Before we start though, one other thing, and that is we're entering the next season of anime, the 2019 fall season, and carrying over my experiment from last season, I'm actually going to allow you guys to choose what series I'm going to watch, at least one, for this next season. So I'll have a link down below that goes to a poll, and then you guys can vote on which one you want me to watch next. So on that note, let's get into the episode. Alright, let's begin in 3, 2, 1, play. Daru, don't... I think we're all thinking what Daru is thinking right now. Ah, that's cute. When even Maru is getting kind of... Daru. Suzuha is not pleased. Alright. Let me skip this real quick. And back. So you guys haven't just been doing this for the last few hours? Because that's future you. Huh. Speaking of which, I kind of forgot. Did Kagari meet with Okabe in the future? Or was Okabe already dead by then? I can't quite remember. Does she remember her confrontation with Suzuha? When she was 10. So she's 22 now? Okay. I'm still going with my sleeper agent theory for now. That's true. I feel bad for Suzuha. She's always playing the character of the bad guy. Right? She always has burdens to carry around. Oh. What? So it's not the same thing that they remembered? It seems like there's a discrepancy in their version of events. So why don't you guys, I don't know, ask them their version of events, write it down and consolidate it? Just a suggestion. Right. But why would you? Ah, and here's the song again. I probably shouldn't say song. The correct word is piece. Found the one. Seems like a pretty long shot. Yeah, it's so sad that Suzuha is always, under some kind of stress or burden. And she isn't even really able to freely interact with the people here because she's from the future. She interacts with a different version of them. Mozart again. Always the big mom of the group. Quite fitting. Hmm. And with this, a lot of flags have been raised. This is not going to turn into an eventless party, I'm guessing. Oh. Hmm. 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 And you guys are. Oh. The whole gang is together. Not to mention. Whoa! Suddenly getting out initial D here. But seriously though, if you're going up against an organization that can somehow brainwash people, you're... I was saying that, just these two going alone, isn't it a little bit risky? And seriously, in high heels? I'm just turning into Tsukomi character this episode. Hmm. An abandoned facility with a helipad. She's probably gonna meet some kind of person outside, maybe get kidnapped again or something. Really? Maybe coinciding with when the professors and whatnot were in Japan. Ah, here's the music. Ooh. Yeah. Mm-mm. Hmm? That's... Huh. I thought her appearance itself was already someone... And they already messed with her brain before they allowed. Hmm. Yup. It's using Karisu as a sort of original. And she's sort of like a clone of Karisu, right? Was that Professor Linsky? Or I can't really remember his name, but was that the male professor? Who was the doctor? Really? Okay, let me mute the song, but it seems that there is a lot more here. Ooh. What are they going to find? I miss you. Man, this song, this atmosphere, that scene with the eyes of Okabe, damn. She's gone. Oh. Okay, things are starting to get interesting here, right? And so, first of all, I like to go over especially the ending of this episode, which I felt was pretty damn brilliantly executed, right? With the song and all, raising the tension to a climax and then instilling a sense of foreboding in us, right? I especially like the scene where, of course, well, the entire climax of the scene was when Okabe and Moeka stumbled upon that room underground, right? And we instantly get the camera perspective of the camera close-up of Okabe's eyes, and then we pan out to the room, which had all these markings and drawings and whatnot, and in red, and it definitely gave off this vibe of craziness and madness, and something sort of like those psychological horror films that we see in movies, right? They were definitely going for the spooky factor here, and I do believe that they pulled it off pretty well. Personally, I was kind of spooked, especially when the camera shifted to Okabe's eyes. I was like, oh my god, something, like, what exactly is it? And then once they shift to that room, it almost seems like a murder scene, right? And you got all this red everywhere. Is it blood or not? It's probably not blood, but it feels like it could be blood, right? And that obviously brings out a lot of sense of uncomfortableness to the viewers. And so I thought that was executed pretty damn well. Another thing I like to quickly talk about within this episode, I also talked within the reaction as well, would be Suzuha, right? Now, personally, out of all the heroines or the girls, and I guess guys as well with Ruka, of Steins Gate, I actually feel the most sympathy for Suzuha, right? Like, you know, Mariri, she has her, you know, she has her problems as well, right? After all, she's the one being repeatedly killed, you know, time after time in the original Steins Gate, and Kurisu is also dead for half the time within the different episodes and different timelines, right? And of course, all the other girls have their problems of unrequited love from Okabe as well. But the thing is, though, since we do know that there is this big happy ending waiting for us at the very end, really the one that's drawn the short stick would be Suzuha, right? Because if everything actually goes according to plan, Suzuha, you know, all the memories that she has with the gang right now, and, you know, all her interactions and whatnot, they are going to completely disappear, right? In the ideal world, she's not going to need to travel back to the past. She's going to be born sometime in the future, like 10 or so years down the line, right? And then once she's born, and then when she's grown up, she's going to have a lot of these, she calls them big sisters and big brothers, right? But honestly, at that point, it's more like, it's a little bit older than just a big brother or big sister, let's just say. And, you know, it's kind of sad in a way, right? She, even if everything goes according, you know, completely correctly, she's not going to retain these memories of, you know, these other characters being her close friends and whatnot, and it's going to completely change. Of course, it is going to be a overall peaceful and loving future as well, but still, I still feel kind of sad for her, since she's never able to truly enjoy herself in the presence of, you know, current day Okabe and company. So, and also, following on the subject of Suzuha, I thought that the, you know, that entire scene where she had this outburst, like, that was great. But then later on afterwards, where we had this scene where they're trying to make up to each other, I felt like that was the most obvious flag in the world that something bad was going to happen, and they weren't going to be able to, you know, talk it out without, you know, something big standing in the way first, right? Like, that was super obvious there. You know, super high flag there. With that said, though, I will give the anime props. At least they did not actually wait until the end of the party to, you know, spring a surprise on us, right? Or spring a big cliffhanger on us. So they changed things up a little bit, and that is to be commended. So, let's continue on to the meat of this episode, right? And more specifically in regards to Kagari. So let's get the obvious stuff out first, right? So I've been saying since we knew of her character that she's probably a sleeper agent of some sort, right? Being pre-programmed with specific commands and actions that are automatically triggered when she encounters some specific trigger, right? Such as two triggers that we know right now are, one is sunlight for whatever reason, and that was the reason why or perhaps there's more to it as well, not just sunlight, but at least in the flashback that we have with Suzuha, and when Kagari was trying to stop Suzuha from continuing her mission of changing timelines, you know, the only thing that we saw was that she looked up into the sun. So, maybe not. Maybe she also heard some other music as well during that point. Don't know. And the second one would, of course, be the music, right? Mozart's Magic Flute, to be exact, which is, you know, the Koshel number is actually the same as her, I guess, code name in a way, K605, K6205, right? So the fifth piece of the musical of the Magic Flute. So those were some things that I've always been saying in my mind, so that does prove to be true. And also another thing is that she does indeed have some sort of relation to Kurisu, right? She's part of the Amadeus project. Of course, whether she's actually a clone or not, I actually don't think she's a clone, but she's got to have like some sort of imprint of Kurisu within her, whether it's like her memories, her personality, or perhaps some specific facets of her DNA or whatnot. That remains to be seen, right? But she's definitely related with Kurisu somehow, and that explains their likeness, right? Now, that's all nice and all, but really the question to ask here is, okay, so why? why is this thing happening? Like, what is the entire purpose of Kagari and within this whole story? Like, what are the people behind it? What are they trying to achieve, in a sense? So the most obvious thing to me, and one thing that popped into my mind directly, would be they're trying to use this to control, first gain control of the time travel machines, right? Of the time machines, because they probably also want to, I mean, the people behind it, they want to avert World War III as well, and they want to be on the winning side from the very beginning. And so I guess in a sense, it's sort of like trying to create this perfect replica of Kurisu that they can control, who in turn will provide the requisite knowledge to create working time machines, right? And by the way, so I do believe that the old guy at the very end there is Alexis, the professor, right? They have similar facial structures, green eyes as well. I'm just gonna say that they are the same person. Which is actually, funnily enough, probably not the doctor that we see Mayuri and Kagari talking to, right? So yeah, so that's my first, and my gut feeling at first would be for that kind of purpose. With that said, however, there are actually quite a lot of holes in this. Like, for instance, how can they be so sure that Mayuri would push Kagari into the time machine and travel together with Suzuha to the past, right? Like, how can they be sure of that part? That seems like something weirdly odd to place your bets on, right? And then also, in terms of pre-programmed commands, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. Like, for example, once they got to, I believe 1998 was the case, or actually, no, it was before Y2K, right? So 1970, no, wait, it was in 1998, never mind. So, that part, why would, if their entire thing was to sort of allow Kagari to grow into Kurisu and gain the requisite knowledge, why would they have a pre-programmed command to sort of hinder Suzuha's mission there, right? And of course, other stuff as well, like why does the people from the past know that her codename is K6205 and do things related with it? And for instance, why are they capturing her and then releasing her and capturing her? And if this was actually part of the entire plan, I feel like there's a lot of things that doesn't quite add up here, right? So that caused me to shift into maybe a second possibility, and that is these things are actually unrelated with each other, right? So even though we see the professor, holding on to the subject test data, more specifically Kagari, at the very end there, perhaps he's not actually the big antagonist here, right? It's entirely possible that he has nothing to do with all these time travel stuff and whatnot, and he simply wants to sort of create the perfect reincarnation of Kurisu, and that's what he's striving for. And everything else, time travel related and whatnot, is maybe being done by some other third parties that are unrelated to that. That's also a possibility, right? And that would make much more sense since, well, sorry, I shouldn't say that it makes much more sense, but it can also help. I just have the feeling that perhaps these things are unrelated with each other. Like, for instance, people from the past knowing about K6205 might be just, I don't know, they asked Kagari or something like that, or maybe they accidentally triggered her, like they accidentally let her be triggered in some sort of way. But of course, this entire thing also doesn't really make sense as well. Like, that would be a lot of coincidences, right? So, not quite sold on that theory of mine either. And the third one would be that the timelines are actually constantly being shifted here, right? And I'm saying this because in the past few episodes, we do know that Okabe sort of experienced a memory blank, right? Something that should be, in theory, a timeline change. And so perhaps these timelines are constantly changing, and it's still being changed, and it's actually being changed step by step, time by time, until it eventually makes it into like one final expected outcome that the main antagonist wants, right? Although, of course, that also doesn't really make sense as well, because given infinite time, you will always encounter some you will always have a situation where you reach the end goal, and then you don't need to actually go through different world lines to reach the end goal, because memory rewrites itself, history rewrites itself, and then you're just simply on the new timeline, right? We discussed this before. So actually, all three of these theories I have problems with for myself. Doesn't really fit perfectly into either one of them. And really, I feel like the biggest problem here is how the heck do the people from the past know that this is K6205, right? Know that her code name is K6205, and indeed why they even know that she's from the future in the first place, right? There's a lot of missing stuff there that we'll probably need to get further into the story to actually understand and predict. For me, anyways. You guys probably have already seen this before, but I like to try and play along with how it would be when it first released, and think through it and sleep on it for a week or so, and see if there's anything to how to bolster up my theory into something that's probably what's going to happen, right? Of course, I'm not going to be spacing out my episodes in 1 week. And in fact, I was originally going to watch episode 14 today as well, but I spent a little bit too much time, racking my brain in regards to why Kagari is here and what's the ultimate goal here. And so I kind of ran out of time. So don't worry. I promise that I'll get a few more episodes out this week as well. I know I've been sort of slacking because I've been saying that I want to put at least 2 episodes of Steinsgate out per week. So, don't worry. I'll still be doing that. But of course, do check out my other works as well, or vote for the other series that you would like me to watch. And hopefully, I will see you guys in the next episode in the not too distant future. So, this is Maverick signing off. Bye bye.